in the camera.
Who wants to give me a round of applause first?
Make sure you stay close to this enough, okay?
I will.
Okay.
So how's your Sabbath, Jackson?
Good. So, we're gonna be doing some question day. So, as you can see, Lee Schroeder's right there. And obviously, he's from Seven Branch Candlesticks, and he's going to be asking me some questions about God. So I'm going to be answering like, do you believe in God? How do you feel about God and Jesus? Like that.
That's right. So, Jackson, I want you to tell me, what is your favorite story in the Bible?
That's kind of hard. I kind of like Noah and the whale, and I like Adam and Eve, and...
You mean Jonah and the whale?
Yeah, Jonah. Okay, so...
You like Adam and Eve, so which is your favorite out of those if you had to choose between Jonah and the whale and Adam and Eve?
Jonah and the whale.
Jonah and the whale. And what makes that your favorite story?
Because I like how first he followed God, but then he recognized that he sinned God and he can't do that. And he hid from God, and I know he realized that he realized he can't do that.
That he can't hide from God, right?
Yeah, so he realized that.
Why was he hiding from God?
Because he said, God, those are my enemies. I can't go over there. And so he hid from God instead of doing it. He said, those are my enemies. I can't do that.
That's right. He learned real quick that he can't hide from God, right?
Yeah.
All right. When the sun sets on Friday night and the Sabbath gets here, are you excited about it or are you bummed out?
What's bummed out mean?
Bummed out means like, oh man, the Sabbath's here.
I'm happy because I like Sabbath.
What's your favorite part about the Sabbath?
I like kind of doing this, and I like reading the Bible, and I like studying about God and watching God movies and doing God things, helping other people. You should really help your mom sometimes.
That's right.
I'll give even back rubs or feet rubs.
He sure does. So, do you think that you can be happy without God?
No.
No. Do you ever pray when you're feeling upset?
Kind of sometimes.
Yeah, and
at recess, I'm like, I'm sad. I'm like sad, so I'm like, I'm gonna go pray. And I was like,
what makes you sad at recess?
When my friends don't play with me.
When your friends don't play with you, and when you pray, what does that do for you? How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel kind of a little bit better.
Do your friends believe in God? Your friends at school?
Some friends, but all the students and my teacher like Chiefs, and they say it's not a bad thing, and which I'm still their friends, okay?
They like what?
Chiefs.
No, you're talking about the football team.
Yeah.
So do you talk to your friends about God?
Sometimes, yeah.
And what do they say?
I just talk to them about God, and I say, do you believe in God? They say, no. When I ask the friends who don't believe in God, I ask the friends who don't believe in God, and obviously he said, no, he actually follows God and does things about God.
Oh, okay.
Which he told me he doesn't.
So
I don't know which one.
Is there anything that you do to help bring them closer to God? Is there anything you tell them or anything you say to them?
I keep on trying to tell them stories, but they won't believe me.
Well, you're planting that seed when you start telling them stories about God, even though they don't listen then. It's our job to plant the seed, but the Holy Spirit will water that seed. That means you are planting the seed there, right? So if you plant a seed in the ground, do you make that seed grow, or do you just plant it?
We just plant it.
Right.
It grows by its own, by the sun, by water. All we have to do is add water and put dirt.
And we plant the seed by telling them about God, right? So that's you planting the seed, telling them, no, there is a God, and this is the God of the Bible, the only God, and this is the true God. And you tell them about who He is, and then guess what? After you plant that seed, the Holy Spirit waters that seed, and they grow. But we cannot bring faith to them. They have to be willing and to open their heart to the Holy Spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's good that you talk to them about God, because we need to be talking with our friends and our family about God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the story of Adam and Eve.
Okay. It's probably going to take me a long time, but... Okay, so first... In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So there was no light, nothing, just... There's a heaven and an earth. That's white and blank and nothing.
Well, the earth wasn't here yet, because He created the heavens and the earth. So in the beginning, there was nothing here, right?
Yeah.
Just an empty space right here where earth was.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I should say where earth wasn't, because earth wasn't here yet.
Yeah, so where earth wasn't, there was we have this house, take away the rug, take away the floor, take away every single thing. Even take away the walls. That's what we have.
Well, we didn't even have the earth.
It's like air. It's like air.
It's just air, right?
Yeah.
There was no ground. There was nothing.
Yeah, so if you try to fall in the ground, you wouldn't land.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
You would just fall through the air, right? Fall through space.
Yeah, and you would keep on going and never stop.
So then what happened?
And then He finally created the trees and everything, and then He made Adam and Eve. So first He made Adam by doing this with his nostrils. And Adam...
What did He make him out of?
Clay, basically.
Oh, okay.
So...
How did He form him?
He formed him out of His own hands, nothing else. His own hands, like... And Adam opened his eyes and...
He breathed. Where did He breathe into?
His nostrils.
His nostrils, right? He breathed the breath of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then what happened when He breathed into Adam's nostrils?
After that, he was like this. He was still, and he finally opened his eyes, and he didn't notice he was naked. And then he didn't want Adam to be lonely, so he made a girl, Eve. And
so why didn't he notice he was naked? Because what? Why? What did he have on his body? What was his body composed of?
God's.
What was his body made of?
Clay.
Well, he was made out of clay, but he couldn't tell he was naked. Why couldn't he tell he was naked?
Because the light of
his body was made of light, right?
Yeah.
He had Christ's what? Robe of
righteousness.
Yeah, that's right.
The robe of righteousness.
Yes, he had Christ's robe of righteousness on. So you couldn't see nakedness amongst them, right? Because they had Christ's robe of righteousness on, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so then what happened?
And then God made Eve too, because He didn't want Adam to be lonely. So God made Eve, and after He made Eve, there was a bunch of animals, and they were having so much fun. And God said, "You can't eat the tree of good and evil." And the devil came up as a snake.
He said you can eat of any tree, but you can't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
The knowledge
right?
of good and evil.
Yeah, so what happened then?
And then the devil came up as a snake crawling, and he said, "Hey, want to eat that piece of fruit?" And and he said, well, Adam said, well, God told us we can't eat that piece of fruit. And the devil said, no, well, God's just lying. You can't eat that piece of fruit. You'll get the power of God. You'll be God. You'll have all his powers, and you'll be powerful. And so Adam took a bite of it, and he said, and he handed it up to Eve. And she took a bite, and she said, and...
Well, who had the fruit first?
Oh, Eve. I must it.
Yeah, Eve had the fruit first.
And then
she gave it to Adam.
And he took a bite. And then they looked down, and they saw they were naked, so they said...
How'd they notice they were naked? What happened?
The robe of God... God's...
Yep, you got it right. God's robe was what? Where'd it go?
Back to God.
Yeah, they didn't have it anymore. They lost their righteousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened to the lights that their bodies were composed of?
It got away.
Yeah, they lost it.
Yeah, they lost it, and they found they were naked, so they jumped into a bush. Adam heard God walking, so he hid, and God said, Why are you hiding from me?
Yeah.
And he said, 'Cause we're naked. And he said, how'd you know that?
He said, who told you?
Who told you?
Who told you that you were naked, right?
Yeah. He said, did you eat the tree I told you not to eat? The tree of knowledge of good and evil? And he said, well, Eve took a bite first. And
then she gave to me.
And she gave to me, and she told me to eat it.
And he said, I ate it too, right? And
Yeah.
That's right. And then what happens?
So God said to Eve, why'd you eat that why'd you eat it first? And why'd you give it to Adam? You'll be lost in light, and the robe of God's, and you'll be crying as well. And
well, those words he was saying to Satan. He was telling Satan. He told Eve that she's going to, when she gives birth, she's going to have painful labor pains, which you're going to learn more about as time goes by. So when you see natural disasters like tornadoes and hurricanes and floods, you see all these things happening, mudslides, and these disasters injure and kill so many people. You know, many have died or were seriously hurt. Many of them, they've lost their lives in these natural disasters. Do you think that those natural disasters are an act of God?
No, they're not, but God. Everything that's bad came from the devil. Like this. Oh, here, I'll pick this up for you. Ha ha. And you throw it in the ground, and you make them pick it up. That's of the devil. And anything that bad. And the first beginning, everything was all perfect. And the devil, as an angel, came up, and he was an angel, and he said, he thought, why don't we get powers? And he gets all this stuff. So he turned bad. And he took 3 angels with him. And he was called Satan. And now he does all the bad things.
Well, Jackson, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me on this beautiful Sabbath evening and answering these questions on camera. You've helped me understand your thought process when it comes to God and His Word. And I really thank you for taking the time to sit down and doing this for everybody else out there so they can see what the view is of God from a 6-year-old. It gives people a different perspective.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jackson, for taking the time to sit down with me and talk about this.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.